Right now, I believe Impact Creative is better. And I wasn't lying. I truly believe that. It's not just because I work for them.
All right. Thank you for making this happen.
Of course, anytime.
Now I want to throw something out here.
Torontonian.
Yes, fellow Torontonian. Now here's the thing. If I say Cactus Pete's to you, what does that mean?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I was there. Yeah.
You were?
I was at your debut match.
How old were you? You're so young.
I was 17 at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh my goodness.
17, Cactus Pete's, Apocalypse.
Selena.
Yes, you were wearing a mask.
Well, Ron Hutchison was the person that trained me, and that was his promotion.
Yeah.
And the only other female that was ready to have a match at that time was Tracy Brooks. So his whole mentality was, you guys are both too pretty to be heels, so I'm going to put you on your hood, which I was actually happy because for my debut match, you know, you're terrified. You don't know all those things about how to present yourself to the audience. And so I was very thankful actually when that happened, because I was like, nobody can see my facials. Nobody can see how nervous I am. So it worked out.
There was also very low lighting and a very low ceiling, as I recall there.
Yes, very low ceiling.
Yeah.
So going off the top rope, I don't remember ever going off the top rope.
It was more like going off the middle rope, as I recall at
I
AWF.
just remember you could kind of reach the ceiling, right? And then it was interesting.
Tracy Brooks was the Sunshine Girl, Tracy.
Yes, that was her.
I can't believe I remember this.
I know. We both did it, but Ron always, I think, mixed up the stories because he found her as the Sunshine Girl, and I think he asked her to wrestle. I'm not positive on that, but for me, I became the Sunshine Girl after I started wrestling, I believe, I think, to get more exposure, I guess.
You know, you're supposed to be retired right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
Like,
Supposed to be.
This is the wrestling retirement, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. And I always said, when I'm retired, I'm retired. But I will say my retirement, I was fine with it and everything. But it just wasn't the storyline, wasn't built up a lot at that time. So for me, you know, I was always just a perfectionist when it came to my career. So I just wanted it to be perfect. And I don't know if it's going to be perfect, but I do know that I have a great opponent, and she is the future, if not the present. You know, she's just very talented. So it kind of gave me that feeling that, okay, maybe I need to do this for just one. It is going to be one more match.
So you're sitting here, and this interview is going to live on forever.
Although I did promise Joey Ryan. I said, because he would ask me to work for him, and I always said, okay, if I come out of retirement for one more match for Impact, I promise you I will do that one other match for you.
So it's 2 more matches.
But he never asked me, so
well, now he's going to see this and ask you, okay?
As long as he doesn't ask me, that will be my last.
You know how great a Joey Ryan Gail Kim match would be?
I don't know if my husband would really like that, though. I told him that. I go, I don't know.
Robert Irvine wouldn't be a fan of the boobplex?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know how he gets away with the boobplex.
I don't know either, but he wouldn't be able to do it to me. That's for sure.
When you're married to a celebrity chef, does he do all the cooking?
No. Actually, he hardly cooks. It took him.
No.
So when we started dating, it took about, I think we were 8 months in, and I said, when are you going to cook for me? Because I was always a foodie. I love to eat. I think all the wrestlers that have ever worked with me, especially in WWE times, they all knew that I could out-eat most of the guys on the roster. So I married a chef. I was like, okay, perfect. And then, I had to beg him. I was like, please. So 8 months in, he did it. Yeah, finally.
So he only cooks when the cameras are around.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, once in a while, but yeah, he's very busy. So, yeah.
So what do you have planned for this match with Tessa?
I mean, we don't have anything really planned. I mean, I'm planning and preparing myself. I've taken over a year off, so I think, my husband and I were just talking about this the other day. He said, you'll be fine. You were great. I said, well, I'm 42 now. She's half my age, and I've taken over a year off. And so I think I don't think people understand how much work goes into being physically fit as a wrestler. And I asked the company, if you want me to be in this match, you need to give me a couple months notice, because you can't just prepare a couple weeks out. You know what I mean? It's a lot. Yeah. It's very physically demanding. And I will say, after taking a year and a half off and the little that I've done, I feel everything now. I literally feel everything, and I never felt everything before. It was almost like you were invincible. And, so it's going to be interesting on how that plays out.
When we look at your career, I feel like TNA has been very, very good to you.
Yes, very, very good. And so, they've always been very straight up and honest. Like, when I entered the company, they said, we want a women's division, but we just don't have time for it. So please be patient. And then about a year and a half in, I just couldn't take it anymore, to be honest, because I think anyone that's passionate about performing in the ring, it's very hard to manage, because you're watching these guys do everything that you love, and you just have to stand there and do your part. But I always knew I had more to give. That was the whole thing, so they gave me the chance.
Do you think that, obviously women's wrestling has changed a ton in WWE since then.
Oh, yes.
Do you wish that maybe you had the opportunity to be in this WWE?
I guess at times I do, but I truly believe everything happens for a reason, and it's very cliche, but I always tell this one story about how I see this one independent girl that's very talented, and I always used to say to her, well, yes, you're a good wrestler, but I don't understand your character. Like, I can't connect them. I said, so who are you? And she said, well, I just want to be a wrestler. And I go, I totally get that, because that's all I ever wanted to be, the best wrestler. But now it's a different time. So for me to fight and be that wrestler girl back then, it was great because the timing. There wasn't a lot of strong women wrestling. Yeah. But now everyone pretty much that comes through and, they want to be a wrestler, and a lot of girls are very talented. So what makes you stand out now? So the way that I look at it and looking back is, okay, yes, I missed the time, but then I wouldn't have stood out at that time as well, or had something to fight for.
Well, like when Tessa cuts this promo like she did on Impact talking about the bra and panties matches, which obviously was a thing.
I did maybe one, I think, in a house show.
All those types of, that was the era, right?
Yeah,
how does it make you feel that you were associated with that era?
I don't feel like I am associated with that era, to be honest. I think people don't remember me for that. I think they remember me more for Impact and TNA matches. The total opposite, steel cage, street fight, no DQ, last knockout standing matches. I don't ever get fans coming up to me and saying, remember that swimsuit spectacular you did, or the legs match you did? And I did a lot of those matches, but I don't get those comments from fans. I think they understand and respect the other work.
Well, I think fans are very excited that you're now out of retirement. Yes. Beth Phoenix is now out of retirement.
Yes. I know.
Maybe you guys could, come together.
I think Beth coming back out of retirement is the best thing ever. Number one, she is, even at the Royal Rumble last year, I actually watched that whole pay-per-view, and I said, you know what? You have not missed one step. Like, you should be back in that ring again. And and I might move like I haven't missed a step in a minute span time, but like I know she doesn't have. I don't think she has any injuries that I know of long term. Yeah. For me, I just got to think about the future, right? So I'm just trying to squeeze this one match out of me, and then that's it. Yeah.
Did anyone reach out to you to just kind of feel your interest for the Royal Rumble?
Oh, no. I think they understand how I feel. I'm very vocal, and I think all fans know that. I just did a seminar last week with a bunch of girls, like a whole bunch of girls, and one of the questions one of the girls asked was, I just want to ask about how do I handle myself on social media? And I go, don't. Everyone started laughing because they all knew, and I said, oh, I'm not going to answer that question. Someone else is. And I think I know how to handle myself on social media. But sometimes when you're in a position to be able to be vocal and speak out about things that you truly believe in and other people cannot speak out, then, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, like you were pretty vocal recently saying that Vince's booking was shitty. Those were your words. Like, do you not like you're putting that out for the whole world to see?
Oh yeah, and that's absolutely fine because I think, our business is such a monopoly right now, and Vince is the main man. WWE is the main company, and they have a lot of money. And even if you don't work for the company, you either hope to get retired, you hope to come back, rehired, not retired, or you hope for maybe Hall of Fame, or you hope for whatever it is. It's like they have that control over you. Yeah. And for me, I experienced the company twice. I know it's not a place that I would ever want to return. It was not a great time both times in my life, not just my career. So if I'm in a position to be able to speak up, then I'm going to. And you know what? Wrestling fans are very passionate. So majority are very supportive, but then of course you're going to get the fans that are they don't want to hear the bad things, But at the same time, they have to remember that I'm speaking up for the people that they're watching and love,
Well, I think there's a real distinction between wrestling fans and WWE fans.
Absolutely.
And when you say something like TNA has better booking than WWE, all the WWE fans go, what are you talking about?
And that's the thing, and I truly believe I was talking about creative recently, and I said that on my social media, that right now I believe Impact Creative is better. And I wasn't lying. I truly believe that. It's not just because I work for them. All I hear from the general fan base is how badly the creative is right now, and how they're not really enjoying the show. And I get the opposite response from people who, if you watch both shows and you have an opinion, then that's your opinion. But if you're not going to watch one show and then you have an opinion, then to me it's like, okay. You got to give them both the chance.
The devil's advocate will say, I can't find Impact Wrestling on TV anymore. It used to be on a channel I have.
Online.
Sure.
You can find it online. And yes, but then don't dog Impact Wrestling if you don't watch it then. If you have a memory of it from 5 years ago, and that's what you're referring to, our business is very much a roller coaster and goes through a lot of ups and downs, including WWE, including any company. So it's just, we just get passionate. I get it.
So how do you feel as one of the biggest stars in Impact that AEW, who has not had any matches at all at this point, has somehow leapfrogged Ring of Honor and Impact as people going, oh, it's going to compete now at WWE?
Yeah. I don't think that their goal is, from what I've heard, is to compete with WWE, which is great. I think it's great that there's another place for wrestlers to go, or people who are in the wrestling business. I think it's great that they're standing for things like equal pay, from what I've heard, and the things that maybe we don't get in other places in the wrestling industry, they're trying to provide for us. And we don't know. I mean, like you said, they haven't had one show yet. But there's optimism, and it's making the guys and the girls happy who work in the industry. So for me, I just always welcome more and new. Yeah.
But it just feel like Ring of Honor, Impact have been around for a long time, and somehow AEW is just skipping right over those.
That's more money. I think that's, to be very frank about it, I think they have money where they can do that, and that's just a realistic part of our business. And look at WWE. I mean, that's a perfect example. They have so much money, especially from going to Saudi Arabia. They have and their Fox deal. They've got so much money that they can buy up a lot of talent. So if you I have been vocal about this from a while now. They have the ability to just scoop up all the talent on the independents right now, so that we don't have talent to choose from. And so that's not a great position for talent, because now they're all just going to be swimming and just hoping for that opportunity. So I just feel like people just lose out when that happens.
So you must have seen John Oliver and his take on WWE, and I feel like he spoke a lot of truths there.
Yes. I was so happy to hear that, because like I said, I'm very vocal, and I'm one of a minority that gets to be vocal, and WWE fans always go to the same response. You're bitter. You're a bitter ex-employee. It's like, you can't even have a voice anymore because you work there. And I'm like, I'm just telling the truth. I'm retired. Yeah, well, I'm having the one match. But I don't, how I was used, like, that's the past, you know. For me, it's just about how they treat their talent. And there's a lot of things, you know. And I'm so glad that someone from the outside that people respect or would listen to can tell the truth and see that it's not just bitter ex-employees. It's truly the truth. If you hear a lot of this, there must be some truth to it, right?
I've interviewed so many people that had some time in WWE and have left, and very few people have great things to say about the company. Why is that?
There's a lot of reasons. I mean, every individual has a different experience, and for me, there was a lot of things, and for me, it was coming from a place of a woman as well, because, like you said, it wasn't a strong time for women's wrestling, so it was literally gimmick matches that, how can I feel passionate about that when I'm feeling a little bit demeaned and I don't feel like I have a choice, or that I felt like I wasn't being used to the best of my abilities. I'm like, if you're a boss, wouldn't you want to use your employees to the best of their ability, right? It made sense to me, and then there's a lot of things like politics where you can ask all these questions and you won't get any answers in return. Like, I could literally ask them directly, well, what is it that I'm doing wrong that I'm not getting the opportunity for? Please tell me. Yeah. I've done this. You told me to do this. I've done that. And literally everything. And you get no answers in return. So it's a very frustrating experience. It's a very controlling environment. And some personalities are just not meant for that environment, and I was one of them. I'm not one to thrive in a negative environment. I'm one to thrive in a positive environment where I feel comfortable to be myself. And I always tell people, all my friends in this business, I'm like, if you've ever seen me in WWE and then you have ever seen me in Impact, it's night and day. You wouldn't even recognize that Gail Kim in WWE, because I never felt like I could be myself, because they didn't want that. They want you to feel uncomfortable, and that's I don't think that's a great way to handle things. Yeah.
So with everything you've said here, being super vocal on Twitter against WWE, are you okay with never going in WWE's Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to accept that, right? I mean, you're going to be vocal, but they hold things against you. So, and to me, I always thought, like, why would they put me in the Hall of Fame? I never did anything within their company.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, I won the women's championship on my debut night, yes.
Yeah.
That I will, yes.
But when you look at all-time women's wrestlers, you're easily top 5.
But that's all you're including Impact.
Okay, but Sting is in WWE's Hall of Fame and hasn't even won a match in WWE.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Yeah, it's true.
I don't know these things.
So,
well, I think they probably wouldn't at this point. He's
maybe not this year or next year.
I highly doubt it.
I don't know. Medusa or Alundra's in?
This is true. I mean, you never know. You never say no in this business. But if things stay the same in terms of how they treat their talent, and, I mean, I'd have to have probably a conversation about all these things. It's so many ifs, you just can't really say.
When's the last time you spoke with anyone that was in charge in WWE?
I texted with someone maybe 2 weeks ago.
Oh. Well, now we'll all speculate who that was.
Yeah. It's normally not a good conversation.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I mean, I still talk to people. I have my friends there.
Of course.
Yes, of course, because that's the one thing, because people always say, well, what did you take away from it? And I've made lifelong friends. I met my husband there. And I gained a lot of experience there. I did, in terms of learning from the best, because we did have the best agents. It's just that I was never really able to apply that so much. You know what I mean?
And you were very defensive on Twitter recently about Tori going into the Hall of Fame,
absolutely.
Which I really appreciated.
Absolutely. And, it just surprised me that fans would even say anything, because there's so many people in the Hall of Fame that would surprise people. So for them to complain, it shocked me, because she is maybe it's because I worked with her and I'm a friend of hers too, but she was adored by the fans. I mean, if they remember back then, everybody loved Tori, and she got a great reaction every single time she was out there. So I don't, why? Because now it's a women's revolution and everyone's like, you know, a hardcore wrestler or whatever it is, and she wasn't portrayed that way. Well, she still gave to the business. She gave a lot, and she loved the business, and the fans loved her, so she deserves it.
So as you sit here right now, I can't believe you're 42 years old.
Yes.
Did you find the fountain of youth or something?
Oh, no. No, I'm just trying to keep up with the young ones.
Like, what's the secret here? Is it just, is it eating right? Is it working out? What is it?
Both.
Okay.
And being Asian. They
Well,
say
we're
rice
screwed.
is nice, right? They say black don't crack. Rice is nice is what I say. I never heard that before, so I was at a facialist, and I said, yeah. She said something about me looking a little bit more younger, and I said, yeah, my friend always says black don't crack, and she goes, yeah, and rice is nice. And I said, I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that, yeah.
If someone is watching this and they are purely a WWE fan, which match of yours do they need to watch?
There's two, I would say. Awesome Kong, no DQ final resolution. I think it was 2007 or 2008. But that one was definitely probably the top because of the storytelling. Both of the matches that I'm going to mention now had a huge investment, like 6 months of storyline, which you never really see much of anymore. And I truly believe that makes a huge difference in getting the fans really, emotionally involved. And Taryn Terrell, Last Knockout Standing. And so those two, they're very different, but just as satisfying in terms of,
There you go. You go watch those, all right?
I love that.
Can you understand from a wrestling fan standpoint how there might be criticism on Impact sometimes?
Yes, absolutely. And, we went through a phase, I think, for years where everyone literally just last year at WrestleMania, we had the show versus Lucha Underground, and Impact were the heels. I mean, got booed, and I said, wow, this is so crazy to see. Like, people just really wanted to hate us for a very long time. And maybe that was the downward slope of what creative was at that point. I don't know, because I was an active wrestler at that point, so I was just trying to do the best that was given to me. But I feel like in the past year, it's really turned around, and I rarely see negative comments. I might see from more WWE fans if I say something like, the creative is better, and then they're like, what? What are you talking about? So that's the only time.
Well, I think people read the stories on the dirt sheets about checks not being able to be cashed, or
That's
people.
changed.
Okay, well, that's good news. Or people would be like, that guy's too old. Why are you giving him a title shot or a title run?
Okay.
Like
who?
Well, now you're putting me on the spot.
Putting him on the spot.
Well, I think maybe it was more like this guy was a mid-carder in WWE, and now
Okay.
you're shoving him into the main event. And it's like, but I don't feel like he's earned that.
Okay, I don't.
That happened a bunch of times.
Okay, well.
But it's okay.
But you know what? I was nobody in WWE, and then I was their inaugural
But
champion.
look how talented you are in the ring.
But are these people not talented?
Everyone who's wrestling at that level, I
Yeah.
believe, is supremely talented.
Yes. I think it's just about opportunity, and then whether you can take that ball and run with it, and that's what we always said in WWE. And I mean, I guess I was given the ball the first night when I won the title, but I wasn't ready for it then, and I truly know that, and I knew that back then. The second time, I hoped for more, and it was just never really happened. So I think we can't look at it that way. I think we should just look at, okay, they're given this opportunity. Let's see what they do with it, and let's see if they impress. And if they don't, they don't. And if they do, they do.
Who is the all-time best women's wrestler?
Oh boy, technically.
Sure. However you want to say it.
Well, now it's such a different ball game because there's so many great women wrestlers right now that are like on par with the guys, if not better. But it's hard to say right now. I would say if I was going to look at everything in generally,
Sure.
we're looking
All
back,
time,
who really inspired me
Okay.
was Molly Holly. because she, to me at that time, in an era, the golden era, she stood out to me because she didn't move like anyone else. Like, to me, she moved so gracefully, and she's the one that I was like, I want to be like her. Like, she moves so great in the ring, and she doesn't move like a normal girl, and that was my inspiration. But I feel like now, I mean, obviously, like Charlotte and Asuka and Sasha, there's so many great wrestlers. I mean, and there's so many girls in NXT that are really good, right?
Yeah.
So Io's down there and Kairi's down there, like all these. I hope that Vince does the right thing with the Asian wrestlers. That's all I got to say. I've said it before because I truly believe he doesn't know what to do with the Asian wrestlers. It's like, or a lot of ethnicities, if you notice, they just throw them all together.
Yeah, or they like go, oh, you're Asian, we're going to give you a super Asian gimmick.
Yeah, and you know, and I just said this on Twitter the other day. I said, it's so funny because they were talking about Asuka and how she has broken English, and I said, well, that's easy. They can give her a manager, or they can work around it. Yeah. There's absolutely no reason why they can't work around it. And I said, but I spoke fluent English, and they asked me every 6 months, do you speak Korean? And I was like, why are they asking me if I can speak Korean? Do they want me to do some stereotypical gimmick? Yeah. And in my mind, and I never could regardless, and I didn't make the effort to go learn a whole language in 6 months. But for me, I was like, I don't want to be put in that stereotypical role because that's not me. And I'm not going to perform well trying to be what they envision. So I don't know what works for them for an Asian person. I don't know. I guess Jerry did okay there, right?
But his gimmick was also like a very traditional Asian gimmick. Funaki, same thing.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Why can't we just go, you're a great wrestler?
I agree.
You know?
And that's what I want to see from Vince and the company. I want him to be able to, and I just don't see it happening. He's old man now. Like, he's not, it's true. Sorry. He's old. You're old, Vince. You're old, and you're not going to change at this point. It's kind of like what they say about Donald Trump. You know, they're set in their ways. He's over 70. He's not going to change the beliefs or morals or whatever it is he grew up with and was raised with. So my ideal world, I would love for him to be able to see some type of ethnicity as a lead top person in his company.
I mean, he even kind of did it with Becky Lynch. Actually, totally did it with Becky Lynch. He went, oh, you have an accent? Well, you're the Irish last kicker then, and you're going to come out to some super Irish music. Like, you can't.
His idea or her idea?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know either.
I mean, I would imagine Vince oversees everything.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I hope that it'll change with the times. Like, Hunter doesn't have a problem doing all that in NXT, so I don't know. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. I mean, and this whole business at one point was looked at as a very non-ethnic, I guess, maybe certain groups, ethnicities would watch that they knew, like Mexico's huge in wrestling, Japan's huge for wrestling. But I just want them to be able to view people just kind of equally, and whether they can just deliver in who they are. One day, let's hope. All
right, so if this is actually your final match, if this is truly retirement for you, what's next?
I mean, I love producing. I love being the agent for the girls. I didn't know how I was going to feel after I retired, because a lot of wrestlers, they come back out of retirement, obviously. And I think people will think because I missed it, and it's actually not because I missed it. I was afraid that I was going to miss it, and I didn't. And I think anytime I kind of got a little twinge, my back was a reminder that I didn't miss it, and because I'm still able to be a part of the business and give to the business, and I love working with the girls. It was just a perfect transition. It makes me not miss the wrestling part, and I just feel very fulfilled doing that. Yeah.
I had a really interesting conversation with Tyson Kidd about this, and he's now a producer, and he was saying it's so fulfilling for him to see the guys that he's been working with put on the perfect match or a great match in the ring.
Yes, it's so fulfilling, and I don't know, I'm just rooting for them, the whole way, and they're like, the girls are like my little babies now, and I'm the mother, right? But it's fun because I'm still in the locker room with them too, and it's just different. I just think of it as a way younger generation to me, and I still get to see all the girls that I used to work with too, like at events like this. So it's awesome, yeah.
Well, I'm super proud as a fellow Canadian and a fellow Torontonian. I can't believe I saw your debut match. I don't think I can say that for any other wrestler out there.
Yeah. Are you talking about Cactus Pete's?
Comes back to Cactus Pete's.
The real debut match. That's crazy.
So thank you so much for this.
Of course. Thank you so much.
You are awesome, by the way.
I'm trying.
Thank you, as always, for checking out my latest interview. Make sure to subscribe and click that bell notification so you don't miss out on more awesome interviews like this great chat we had with Gail Kim. I still can't believe that I was at her debut independent wrestling match, a little bar called Cactus Pete's in Toronto. She was wrestling with a mask on at the time, La Felina. And even then, even almost 20 years ago, you could tell there was something special about her. And a little interesting little tidbit here for you. She said she was trained by Ron Hutchinson. You know who else Ron Hutchinson trained? Also from the Toronto area? Little tag team you might remember called Edge and Christian. Yeah, they all came from the same wrestling school. So you could tell even back then there was something special about Gail Kim, even with her wearing the mask. And if you like where women's wrestling is right now, you have to love and respect where it came from. And a lot of this is because of Gail Kim and her opponents. We're talking 10, 15 plus years ago. And it was really TNA's knockout division that kind of pushed the envelope and really put women's wrestling into the forefront. And if you haven't seen some of those matches that she listed off, and that was the whole reason that she listed them off, because people might not be familiar with anything outside of WWE, you're on YouTube right now. So when you're done watching this video and you're done subscribing, go check them out and prepare to be amazed. That stuff is so ahead of its time. So I'm in the car right now. Getting ready to drive over. I live in Fort Lauderdale. It's on one side, one coast of Florida. I'm going to drive over to the other coast of Florida to Naples. And we're going to do a really interesting video. I'm going to have a WWE superstar interview me with the questions you guys have tweeted me and you've posted on Instagram and also on Facebook. If you don't follow me there, it's just my name, @ChrisVanVliet. So this WWE superstar is going to be a surprise until we post this. Although if you've been following my channel for a while, it's someone I've done many, many interviews with. I'm sure you can guess who it is. We're going to do an interview where he asks me all of your questions, which should be very, very interesting. So make sure to be subscribed so you can get that notification when that interview comes out. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Woo!